All right, so ready to deep dive into holistic weight loss for diabetes management. We're diving into holistic weight loss for diabetes and high blood sugar because, let's be real, who hasn't tried the latest diet fad and ended up right back where they started?
So true.
This time, it's about going beyond the surface, understanding how everything connects. We're talking lasting changes, not just quick fixes.
Exactly. And one of the most fascinating things this article highlights is how much more there is to weight loss and diabetes than just calories in, calories out. Did you know that even your gut bacteria play a role?
Wait, really? Gut bacteria? I've never even thought about
Well,
that.
it's super interesting. Emerging research shows that our gut microbiome, those trillions of bacteria living in our gut,
Right.
can actually influence our metabolism and how our bodies respond to insulin.
So are you saying that having the right kind of gut bacteria could actually make it easier to manage blood sugar?
The research is still new, but there's definitely a connection. The article talks about how a balanced diet, rich in fiber and fermented foods, can actually promote a healthy gut microbiome.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like taking care of a garden, but this garden is inside us.
That's wild. Okay, I'm adding gut health to my diabetes management checklist. We want to steer clear of the overly simplistic stuff today.
Right.
Our listener already has a good understanding of type 1 and type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
But before we dive into this holistic approach, what's one key takeaway from the article that you think everyone should know, regardless of how much they know about diabetes?
That's a great question. I think the biggest takeaway is that this isn't just about managing a condition. It's about reclaiming your health and feeling your best.
Okay.
And that means addressing all aspects of well-being, not just what you eat and how much you move, but also how you manage stress and even how well you sleep.
It's the whole mind-body connection, right? Our bodies are like these intricate ecosystems and everything is intertwined.
Exactly. And just like any ecosystem, if one element is out of balance, it can throw the whole system off.
I like that. Okay, so the article breaks down this holistic approach into 4 key pillars: balanced diet, physical activity, mental health, and lifestyle changes. Let's unpack these, starting with food. What's fascinating is that the article doesn't demonize any particular food group,
Yeah.
which is refreshing.
Right.
Instead, it really dives into the why behind making healthier choices.
It's refreshing. And it really emphasizes understanding macronutrients, carbohydrates, protein, and fats, not just fearing them. For instance, did you know that protein can help stabilize blood sugar?
Really? I always thought of protein as more for building muscle and feeling full. How does it impact blood sugar?
So unlike carbs, protein doesn't directly raise blood sugar levels. When you eat protein, it can actually slow down the absorption of glucose into your bloodstream.
Interesting.
This is especially helpful after meals, preventing those dramatic blood sugar spikes.
Wow, I had no idea. So strategically incorporating protein throughout the day could be a game changer.
Exactly. And it ties into that concept of balance. It's not about eliminating carbs entirely, but rather pairing them with protein and healthy fats for better blood sugar control.
Okay, this is making me rethink my meal planning. It's about working smarter, not harder. What about healthy fats? I feel like they often get a bad rap.
It's true. Fats have definitely been demonized in the past. But the truth is, our bodies need healthy fats to function correctly. They're vital for hormone production and cell growth, and even help us absorb certain vitamins.
So not all fats are created equal. Which types of fats should we be incorporating into our diets?
Think avocados, nuts, seeds, olive oil. Those are all excellent sources of monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats, which are good for your heart. Those are what we want to see on our plates.
Okay, so we're talking about making those healthy swaps instead of reaching for the bag of chips. Grab a handful of almonds. I can get behind that.
Definitely.
This article dives deep into the concept of the glycemic index, or GI, which I have heard of but never fully understood. What's the deal with the GI, and why is it important for someone with diabetes?
Think of the GI as a ranking system for carbohydrate-containing foods based on how quickly they raise your blood sugar after you eat them. For someone managing diabetes, choosing low GI foods can be a game changer. It's about making smart carb choices to keep those blood sugar levels nice and steady.
Okay, this is starting to make a lot more sense. So it's not just about how many carbs I'm eating, but also about what kind of carbs. Is that right?
You got it. Now let's talk about how to practically apply this. Imagine your plate. Literally. Yeah, so with the plate method picture, this half of your plate is bursting with color.
Okay.
Non-starchy veggies like broccoli, spinach, peppers,
Okay, I'm liking this visual already. Half my plate, vibrant veggies.
Exactly.
Got it. What about the other half?
So a quarter of that plate is dedicated to lean protein,
Okay.
fish. chicken, tofu, beans and lentils.
Okay.
Really about variety.
Protein power.
Right, so that leaves us with the last quarter. I think I know what's going there.
You got it. The final quarter is for those low GI heroes.
Okay.
Brown rice, quinoa, whole wheat bread.
All those satisfying, slower digesting carbs that won't send your blood sugar on a roller coaster ride.
This is great. I love that this isn't about deprivation, or labeling foods as good or bad. It's about understanding how food impacts our bodies and making informed decisions.
Exactly. Working with your body, not against it.
Love it. Okay, so let's move on to our next pillar, physical activity. Confession. Sometimes the last thing I want to do is hit the gym, especially when I'm stressed. But this article makes a really good point about why exercise is so important for diabetes management.
Yeah, it does.
No.
And here's the thing. Exercise isn't just about burning calories. It actually changes how our bodies use glucose.
Okay, now you've got my attention. Tell me more.
When we exercise, especially aerobic exercise, our muscles become more sensitive to insulin, almost like giving those cells a pep talk.
A pep talk. I love it. So they're more receptive and ready to use up that glucose.
Exactly. Your body is more efficient at removing glucose from your blood, which helps stabilize blood sugar levels.
Wow, so exercise really is the ultimate multitasker. How much are we talking about here to really reap those blood sugar balancing benefits?
The article says to aim for at least 150 minutes a week of moderate intensity aerobic activity.
Okay, 150 minutes, that's doable. But for those of us who are new to exercise or just need a little extra motivation, what kind of activities are we talking about?
Oh, there are so many options.
Okay.
Brisk walking, swimming, dancing, cycling. Even gardening can count if you're really getting your heart rate up.
Right.
It's about finding activities you enjoy and making them part of your routine.
Okay, so no need to force myself into those high-intensity workouts if that's not my thing. My muscles are breathing a sigh of relief. What about strength training, though? I'll be honest, I sometimes skip the weights in favor of more cardio.
Okay.
Is that a big no-no for diabetes management?
Well, you know how we always hear that muscle burns more calories at rest?
Yeah.
Turns out that's a game changer for blood sugar, too.
Okay.
The more muscle you have, the better your body is at using glucose for energy.
So building muscle is like giving my body an extra storage tank for glucose.
That's a great way to put it.
I like that.
So yeah, even incorporating strength training a couple times a week can make a big difference.
Okay, strength training, you're officially back on my radar. Now, the article also mentions yoga, which I always think of as stress reduction, not necessarily exercise. So how does yoga fit into this when it comes to diabetes?
You're right. Yoga is amazing for stress reduction, which we know is a huge piece of the puzzle when it comes to blood sugar.
Right.
But yoga is also a fantastic form of low-impact exercise that can improve flexibility balance and even build strength.
Wow.
It's a gentle but powerful way to care for both your body and mind.
Okay, I'm sold. Okay, on to something that probably needs no introduction, especially in our fast-paced world, but is often neglected when it comes to our health. Mental well-being. Stress, in particular, seems to be public enemy number one when it comes to blood sugar. Am I right? You're telling me. It feels like stress is a constant these days. But I'm ready to kick it to the curb, especially if it's messing with my blood sugar. What's the connection there? Like, what's actually happening in our bodies when we're stressed?
Well, it all comes down to hormones. Specifically cortisol, our fight or flight hormone.
Right.
When we're stressed, our bodies pump out cortisol to help us deal with it. Now, in small doses, cortisol isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's what helps us push through a tough workout or get things done when we have a deadline.
Okay.
But here's the thing. When cortisol is constantly elevated, like with ongoing stress, it can actually interfere with how our cells respond to insulin.
So you're saying stress is basically making my cells ignore insulin. That's not good.
It's like insulin is knocking on the cell's door with that glucose delivery. But the cell is like, sorry, we're closed for stress. And that means that glucose starts building up in our bloodstream, which, you guessed it, messes with our blood sugar levels.
Okay, that makes sense. But it's not just about those blood sugar spikes in the moment, right? I'm guessing chronic stress has some long-term effects too.
You're totally right. Chronically high cortisol can also lead to insulin resistance, which, like we talked about before, is a major driver of type 2 diabetes. It's like stress is setting the stage for a whole bunch of metabolic issues.
Yikes. Okay, I'm convinced. Stress management needs to be a top priority. But how do we actually do that? I mean, life doesn't exactly give out stress-free passes. What are some things we can do to keep those cortisol levels in check? What does the article suggest?
Well, the good news is exercise, our trusty friend, comes to the rescue again.
Okay.
Regular physical activity can really help lower cortisol. It gives you that feeling of calm and well-being. But it's not just hitting the gym. The article also talks about mindfulness practices like meditation.
Meditation. I'll be honest, I always thought that was just for yogis on mountain talks somewhere.
That's a common misconception. Meditation is for everyone, and it's honestly easier than you think. Even a few minutes a day of focused breathing or guided meditation can make a huge difference in reducing stress and clearing your mind. There are tons of apps and stuff online that can get you started.
That's good to know. I might have to give that a try. Now, before we wrap up, this article mentions a few other things that can affect both our weight and blood sugar. One that really stood out to me, and I'm sure our listeners can relate, is sleep. I'm all about a good night's rest, but I had no clue how much it impacts our metabolic health. What's the deal there?
Okay, so get this. When we don't sleep enough, even for a short time, it throws off these hunger hormones, ghrelin and leptin.
Hold on, hunger hormones. Now you're speaking my language. Tell me more.
So ghrelin is basically our I'm starving hormone.
Yeah.
It sends signals to our brain saying time to eat.
Yeah.
And then there's leptin, which is our I'm full hormone, is the one that tells our brain we've had enough.
Okay, so we have our hunger signals and our fullness signals. So how does not getting enough sleep mess all of that up?
When you're sleep deprived, you produce more ghrelin and less leptin. Basically, you're getting those eat more signals on repeat while the, okay, you're good, signals are being silenced.
Oh, no.
And as if those cravings weren't tough enough already, lack of sleep also lowers your insulin sensitivity, making it even tougher for your body to regulate blood sugar properly.
Double whammy. Okay, I'm seeing a pattern here. Not getting enough sleep is not good for our weight or our blood sugar. So what's the magic number? How much sleep do we really need to keep everything running smoothly?
Most adults need about 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night. Seems pretty simple, but in our busy world, it can be hard to make happen.
So true. But there has to be something we can do, right?
The good news is that improving your sleep hygiene doesn't have to mean a huge life overhaul. It's often about those small, consistent changes to your routine.
Like what? Give us some examples.
The key here is consistency. Try to go to bed and wake up around the same time every day, even on the weekends. This helps regulate your body's natural sleep-wake cycle, so you fall asleep easier and wake up feeling refreshed.
Okay, I can get on board with that. What about those nights when you just can't seem to fall asleep? Asking for a friend.
I feel you. Creating a relaxing bedtime routine can really help. Think warm bath or shower, reading a book, maybe some light stretching or some gentle yoga, anything that helps signal to your body and mind that it's time to wind down.
A little pre-sleep pampering. I like it. So I'm guessing scrolling through my phone in bed is a big no-no.
Bingo. That blue light from our phones, tablets, and computers can actually disrupt our melatonin production. Melatonin's a key hormone that helps regulate our sleep-wake cycle.
So it's basically telling our brains to stay awake when they should be powering down for the night.
Got it. Any other things we should try to avoid that can sabotage our sleep?
Caffeine and alcohol can both disrupt sleep, so try not to have too much, especially a few hours before bedtime. And remember how we said exercise is so beneficial? Yeah.
Well, that applies to sleep too. Regular exercise can do wonders for sleep quality, but avoid those intense workouts right before bed.
Always about balance. It's been incredible chatting with you today. We've covered so much from that fascinating world of our gut microbiome and how it affects our metabolic health to building muscle, not just for a toned physique, but to help control blood sugar. And we can't forget about those things we often overlook, but that are so important, like managing stress and prioritizing sleep. They're not just trendy buzzwords, they're crucial for our well-being, especially when it comes to diabetes management. To wrap up, I want to remind you that knowledge is power. We've given you a lot to think about today, but remember, this journey to better health is ongoing. Keep those questions coming, never stop learning, and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. And hey, maybe treat yourself to a nice relaxing bedtime routine and a full 8 hours of sleep tonight. Your gut and your blood sugar will thank you.